Hi guys, welcome back to YouTube Psych Myths. Today's video is going to be a lot different than my usual content. As you know, I'm trying to branch off from dissociated content, and it's important for me to say that this video is going to be very different. It's true crime related, and I know that a large portion of my audience are trauma survivors and people with dissociative disorders, so if true crime or anything graphic like that is triggering for you, then this isn't the video for you. So I would click off and watch a more tame video. But I just want to give you guys a heads up because, again, this content is a lot different from what I typically cover. It can go both ways. Some people become interested in how people become how they are and psychology behind certain things. And criminology is a big part of that. And I am interested in criminology. I study criminology, psychology, and there are a lot of people, though, who've been through similar things to me that don't like to watch it or can only take so much of it, and I totally understand that. So if this just isn't your jam, no problem. Skip off the video, and I'll see you guys in the next lighter one. For everybody who's already familiar with the Watts case and you want to skip the summary, you can go ahead and skip to the timestamp on the screen, and that will take you to the portion that's the main point of the video, which is all the ridiculous things that Chris Watts' defenders say. It seems like almost everyone on the planet knows about the Watts case. For anybody who isn't familiar with this case, I'll just give a brief summary. Chris Watts was a seemingly normal man who lived in North Carolina and met Shanann, who was to become his wife. They both moved out to Colorado and had 2 children together and one on the way. Tragically, they did not live happily ever after. Chris Watts admitted to murdering his pregnant wife and later admitted to also murdering their 4-year-old daughter Bella and 3-year-old, just turned 3-year-old daughter Celeste with a blanket over their faces. He pled guilty on all the counts he was charged with in order to avoid the death penalty. He was charged and sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole. The thing that is, I think, most appalling in this case is the way the bodies were disposed of. This father, who by all accounts seemed like a great dad, took the bodies of his young little girls and dumped them into 2 crude oil tank batteries and dug a shallow grave for his wife and unborn child. I've decided not to include any of the degrading things that are being said about the victims, but rather to prove the point, these people don't really know what they're talking about, by using all the clips that I've accumulated to show just how silly their arguments really are. To me, anybody who argue the points that you're about to hear really shouldn't be taken seriously with anything, let alone when it comes to what they have to say about the victims. Now, I know my audience are really intelligent people. I just think this is important because there are a lot of people that are new to this case and have heard about it from Netflix, so it's gained a resurgence of popularity, and there are a ton of people that are actually believing this stuff. So it's nothing against what I think that you guys would believe or not. It's more just how startling it is how many people are falling for it So I think it's important to point out. All right, let's get into the portion of the video that is the main topic, which is all the ridiculous and sick things that Chris Watts defenders say.
Now I asked Chris, why did he perform CPR? That's what everyone's asked. Now, he said, like, literally, I didn't want to hurt him. Now, I literally paused when he said that, and I said, wait, what did you say? And he goes, well, I would want to hurt him. I'm like, Chris, wait a minute, but you, by all accounts, you murdered them on purpose, right? After a second confession. And he was like, even for him, those moments of honesty where he's like, well, I mean, like, you know, even, I'm like, you supposedly calculatedly, very coldly killed these guys, but you're telling me you didn't want to hurt them.
Oh, how sweet. He didn't want to hurt them by trying to resuscitate them. What a good guy. Of course he didn't want to resuscitate them because he intentionally killed them and then threw them in oil tanks. Ugh.
It's just the children and the unfortunate way that he disposed of them.
Right.
You know?
And, I mean, people have asked me, like, well, do you think, like, what if he worked somewhere else? Like, was it his mission was only to dispose of them in oil? I'm like, no. He took him to work. He happened to work there. I mean, if he worked as a high school football coach, maybe he would have gone to the locker room. I don't know.
Right, exactly. I mean, it was just...
He has major guilt for the affair, major guilt for even having answering Shann's question that night because she knew. He just says, it didn't matter my answer. She knew, and he just didn't want to hurt her more because she was already so upset.
Right. He didn't want to hurt her more by telling her something and confessing to the affair, but instead he killed her. I'd say that's hurting her more.
Some people have said that, you know, in the back of his mind, it must have been like, I'm taking them up, like, because of what had happened. Like, I'm taking him to put him back into bed, like, he wants me to be safe or something. Remember, I know as horrific as it is, Chris worked in the oil field, so a lot of people get desensitized to, I mean, he doesn't look at it as probably as evil and horrific.
If you're wondering if she's talking about him walking up those stairs and putting the girls into the tanks and referring to that as putting them to bed, yes, she is. I don't think I have to explain why that's disgusting.
And I think that if that was Chris's child, I don't think he would have disregarded that baby. Just seeing how he was with the girls in all those videos.
I think that's been a question a lot that people have had.
This one just makes me sick to my stomach. I don't think he would have disregarded the child if he knew it was his baby. Are you kidding? Look what he did to his two girls. And he did disregard the child. He murdered it. Whether it was his or not. And it is his. What a disgusting thing to say.
For how strong he was, there should have been so much more. But that's why, for me, it accounts for how Chris is. Because anybody else, I think that there would have been a lot more injuries to her than that. Because Chris, even saying if Chris was saying he snapped, those injuries would be more consistent with Chris snapping versus somebody else. Because somebody else, like the DA talked about, you're going to have a lot of different physical injuries, internal injuries.
It's like this lady is trying to make it look like, oh, her death wasn't that bad. Chris is a nice guy, so he murdered in a good way. It was less severe than it could have been. Like, that's supposed to help his case.
But the weird thing, though, is that they also didn't stop him. Like, they didn't say, Chris, that's a lie. I mean, they would clearly probably know that that was a lie. They've seen autopsies. They're the investigators. And they didn't stop him. But when they go on to, when Tammy leaves...
Well, if you call him a liar and you call him out, what's he going to do? He's going to stop talking.
Thank God the guy on the phone saved that one. Because if you're supposed to know what you're talking about, as far as criminal justice goes, you would know why they didn't stop him from lying. Why would you stop someone from lying when you're talking to them trying to get answers? You sort through it later and keep them talking.
that smell of death, or not, you might have had fecal matter and urine hit your body. You you had no control over that anymore. You're still going to go to the bathroom.
Well, then he said a skunk, so it might have been a skunk.
Oh, that's right, of course. The smell of that dead body? No. Chris said it was a skunk. So of course, it's a skunk, guys, of course.